It seems like the federal government keeps doing all the wrong things. They're focusing on the wrong areas and just really trying to overreach and essentially not making the most out of the opportunities in terms of the tools that they have to make things better. What were your thoughts on Trudeau's housing announcement?
I think a majority of his announcements are broken promises. I truly don't have any more faith left in this federal government, and that might sound harsh. I think the reason that we're seeing that more threatening or more aggressive language is because the Liberals are now in the fight for their lives. It's just the reality of it. They're going to probably lose the next election. His favorability is plummeting. People are struggling, and the flowery language is just not going to work anymore. So we went from a few months ago hearing, well, housing isn't a federal responsibility, to we're going to make it happen and we're going to go above and beyond the promises that we've made, and just completely bulldoze over the premiers in their provinces. So, I mean, good luck is all I can say to that.
So what about his housing policy do you think is not going to work?
All of it. Just how? Honestly, respectfully, we have seen a government that literally cannot manage. They have ballooned the bureaucracy. There are so many public servants. Every time they take on, there's going to be consultation and everything needed for this. And it seems like every step of the way when this federal government tries to do anything, something goes wrong somewhere. They'll hire a bunch of fancy consultants. Something will go wrong there. It'll be a friend of a friend of a friend that gets a contract. The amount that we're supposed to pay them will be ballooned beyond what it's supposed to cost. I mean, look at the trees, and people are saying, oh, we are getting the trees that they promised to plant. I don't know. Anyways, whatever. But let's look at their actual responsibility within the federal jurisdiction, which is First Nations housing. How do you go from 3,800 public servants to, I think they're close to 7,000 within those two Indigenous departments? And we get the Auditor General audit back about a month ago. First Nations housing is terrible. It's not working effectively. The mold strategy that Harper implemented not being used. This government cannot manage anything. And that sounds harsh, and I know that sounds mean, but it's time to start being realistic about what they can and can't do. And I don't have any faith left that they can handle this.
Yeah, and that was my thought too, because they talked a big talk about, creating all this strategy for rentals to be, incentivized, and for them to activate federal land that is currently not being used, and we're going to build subdivisions on it. And my guys, who's going to build it? And then they're like, oh, well, we realize there's not enough skilled trades, so we're going to pour more money into skilled trades so that we can train people and they can do it. And it's like, that's going to be years. You're going to be far out of office, and everybody's going to be like, wow, that was a bad dream, before any of this could even be implemented. So it's exactly right what you said. It's going to be a bunch of consultants. They're going to be overpaid. They're going to give out a bunch of subsidies to large corporate entities who build rentals that probably don't deserve it and probably weren't going to need it anyway. They're probably going to build those rentals anyway. And it's going to be exactly what we saw when Chrystia Freeland went to Vancouver, and she's like, look at this affordable unit. It's so great. And it was like $3,800 or something stupid. And it's like,
that was a bit of an exaggeration.
But it was ridiculous. And the other thing that I look at it too is I used to sit with the municipal council here in Halifax, and I used to sit on the Community Design Advisory Committee, so CDAC, looking at affordable housing in Halifax. And one of the biggest problems was that these developers would come in and they'd be like, we're building affordable housing. And it's like, oh, sweet. Which ones are the affordable units? It was like, well, this corner in behind the elevator where there's no windows and is only 200 square feet. And they're like, see, it's affordable. Give us the rebate. And because of the way the laws were written, they would be eligible for it. So that's what I see happening with this. I just see this being another huge blunder. So I'm right with you. I'm not enthused by it. I think that if it was a different government, there's a lot in there that could be well used. Like I said, the reactivation of federal lands that are not being used or underutilized right now. We have Canada Post sitting on a massive swath of prime real estate right on the peninsula of Halifax that could be housing. And it's just a distribution center. It's move it out into boony land. Why do you have that in prime real estate? So things like that, I'm yeah, 100%. That's a good policy. Is it this government to do it? Absolutely not. Definitely not. This is where I see Pierre coming in and really shining, where he's like, no, that's a bad location, where this is a bad use of public funds, a bad use of public property. Let's do away with that. And then also do not incentivize large corporations to do anything. Like, start putting the power back in the hands of the people.